Making your own organic fertilizer is a great way to improve the health and productivity of your garden while also reducing your environmental impact. Unlike chemical fertilizers, organic fertilizers are made from natural materials and are safe for both plants and the environment. In this article, we'll go over the basics of making your own organic fertilizer, including the materials and tools you'll need, and some simple recipes to get you started. The first step in making your own organic fertilizer is to gather the materials you'll need. One of the most important materials is organic matter, such as compost, leaves, grass clippings, and manure. These materials provide the necessary nutrients for plants, including nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. You'll also need a container to mix the materials in, such as a wheelbarrow or a plastic trash can, and a rake or hoe to mix the materials together. One of the simplest and most effective ways to make your own organic fertilizer is to create a compost pile. Composting involves mixing organic materials, such as food scraps, yard waste, and manure, in a pile or container. As the materials break down, they release nutrients that can be used to fertilize your garden. To make a compost pile, simply pile the materials in a pile or container and mix them together. Make sure to keep the pile moist and turn it every few weeks to aerate it. After several months, the materials will have broken down into a rich, dark compost that can be used to fertilize your garden. Another way to make organic fertilizer is by using worm castings. Worm castings are the excrement of earthworms and are a rich source of nutrients for plants. To make worm castings, you'll need a container, such as a plastic bin, and red worms, also known as red wigglers. Fill the container with shredded newspaper or cardboard and add the worms. Feed the worms with small amounts of food scraps and keep the container moist. After a few months, the worms will have turned the food scraps into a rich, nutrient-dense fertilizer that can be used to fertilize your plants. You can also make organic fertilizer using kitchen scraps. For example, you can make a liquid fertilizer by steeping comfrey leaves in water. Comfrey is a perennial herb that is known for its high levels of nutrients and is commonly used as a fertilizer. To make the fertilizer, chop up a few comfrey leaves and put them in a container of water. Let the leaves steep for a week or two, then strain out the leaves and use the liquid to water your plants. You can also make organic fertilizer using coffee grounds. Coffee grounds are a good source of nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, which are all essential nutrients for plants. To make a coffee ground fertilizer, simply collect coffee grounds from your local coffee shop or your own coffee maker and sprinkle them around the base of your plants. You can also mix coffee grounds with other organic materials, such as leaves and grass clippings, to create a more well-rounded fertilizer. Another way to make organic fertilizer is by using bone meal. Bone meal is made from ground animal bones and is a good source of phosphorus, which is essential for strong root growth. To make bone meal fertilizer, simply mix bone meal with water and apply it to your plants. Lastly, using compost tea is a great way to boost your plants' health and vitality. To make compost tea, you will need compost and water. Place the compost in a burlap bag or cheesecloth and submerge it in a container of water. Leave it to steep for a few days, stirring occasionally. Once ready, use a spray bottle to apply the tea to the leaves. Once you have your organic fertilizer, it's important to use it correctly in order to get the best results. Organic fertilizers are typically slower acting than chemical fertilizers, so it's important to be patient and not over-fertilize. It's also important to test your soil to determine its pH level and nutrient deficiencies before applying fertilizer. This will help you to determine which nutrients your plants need most and apply the appropriate fertilizer accordingly. When applying organic fertilizer, it's important to follow the instructions on the package or recipe. Some fertilizers, such as compost tea, can be applied directly to the leaves of your plants, while others, such as bone meal, should be mixed into the soil. Be sure to water your plants well after applying fertilizer to help the nutrients reach the roots. It's also important to keep in mind that organic fertilizer is not a one-time application. In order to maintain healthy, productive plants, you'll need to reapply fertilizer regularly throughout the growing season. A good rule of thumb is to fertilize every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the type of fertilizer you're using and the needs of your plants. In conclusion, making your own organic fertilizer is a great way to improve the health and productivity of your garden, while also reducing your environmental impact. With a few simple materials and techniques, you can create a wide range of fertilizers that will provide your plants with the nutrients they need to thrive. Remember to use fertilizer correctly, test your soil and reapply regularly for best results. Not only you'll have a healthy and productive garden, but also you'll be reducing the use of chemical fertilizers and contributing to a more sustainable environment.